Select one model of teaching and learning and evaluate its effectiveness in practice within your education system. How will this enhance your education? There are three main models of teaching. These are behaviourism, objectivism, and constructivism. Models handle the way in which learning environments and experiences can be constructed, sequenced, and delivered. Learning is paradoxical in nature, and it can appear to be very simple. All of us are learning all the time from the myriad of experiences we encounter every day. The existence of numerous definitions and theories of learning and fierce debates surrounding these theories show the complexity of the process. Joyce and Well, 2009 say, teaching models are just instructional designs. They describe the process of specifying and producing particular environmental situations which cause the student to interact in such a way that is specific to change which occurs in his behaviour. Amy will be now discussing constructivism and everything surrounding that.
Constructivism is a theory which has its foundation in the readily observable fact that nobody can see what somebody else is thinking. In constructivism, teaching is never just telling. Unlike transmission theory of learning, often used in more traditional teaching approaches, the term scaffolding to convey the idea of providing specific activities and experiences to help students construct their knowledge correctly is used. Jean Piaget is best known for his work on the development of cognitive functions in children. Piagetian theory found favor in policy documents linked to primary education. Barrow 2005 stated that towards the end of the 20th century, in stressing a progressive people-centered pedagogy, Piagetian thinking came increasingly under attack from governments wishing to return to an objectivist paradigm. Constructivist learning theorists argue that an understanding of the internal process of the pupil is critically important. Constructivism is a metaphor for learning which suggests that knowledge is constructed by pupils. This differentiates it from views of education that presume that it is possible to transfer information directly into a pupil's mind. Constructivism asserts that real learning can only occur when the pupil is actively engaged in operating on or processing learning experiences facilitated by the teacher through play and active experimentation. Furthermore, the interpretation of these learning experiences depends on previous learning. Fox 2001 mentioned that the basic premises of constructivism is that learning is an active and interactive process. Knowledge is constructed, not transmitted. Prior knowledge has an impact on the learning process. Learning is essentially a process of making sense of the world. Effective learning requires meaningful, open-ended, and challenging problems for the learner to solve. Bates 2016 believed that people construct knowledge. He suggested that the construction of knowledge is based on the individual's experience, which in turn are influenced by the emotional, biological, and mental stage of development. Piaget was dissatisfied with behavior's strict focus on observable behavior. He was more interested with what was happening inside the learner's head. Piaget asserted that thinking patterns evolve through a series of stages linked to specific age ranges, in which cognitive structures become progressively more complex. Contemporary thinking on the age and stage model suggests that individual pupils go through the stages at different rates. Piaget postulated 4 stages of cognitive development, Woolfolk 2007, which have influenced the age and stage thinking in policy documents linked to primary education. There's the sensory motor stage, which is from 0 to 2 years. Towards the end of this period, the child, by exploring the world through sensory experiences and movement, begins to represent the world in terms of mental images and symbols through acquisition of basic language. Then there's the pre-operation stage, 2 to 7 years. The pre-operation stage is subdivided into pre-conceptual and intuitive stages. The pre-conceptual child, 2 to 4 years, is unable to abstract and discriminate the attributes of a concept. Inductive reasoning. Neither can the child use deductive ways of thinking. Instead, they use what Piaget terms transductive reasoning, going from one specific instance to another specific instance, so forming preconcepts. The intuitive child, 4 to 7 years, considers only one variable of a situation as a time to the exclusion of all other aspects in the Piagetian framework. This is called centering. The third stage is the concrete operational stage, 7 to 11 years. In this stage, the child begins to think hypothetically, where 2 or more variables can be considered at once. However, there may still be a tendency to adjust the facts to meet the hypothesis. The development of logic structures continues to require concrete experience so that logic can be applied. The last stage is the formal operational stage, 11 years onwards. During this period, the child starts to use abstract reasoning. Abstract hypotheses can be built along with the capability to hold some variables constant while manipulating other variables in order to determine their influence. Analytical and logical thought no longer requires reference to concrete examples. Moseley et al. 2005 stated that a key insight is that teachers should design learning activities that are practical and experimental in nature. This has encouraged some teachers to opt out from teaching difficult ideas until the pupils are intellectually ready. Paula 2008 mentioned that teachers influenced by the constructivism perspective provide pupils with opportunities to experience learning as an active social process of making sense of experience as opposed to instruction where pupils are given facts and theories. Teachers engage pupils in their learning, hands-on, minds-on, through creating stimulating classroom environments. So now I'm going to move on to socio-constructivism. Piaget was interested in constructivism, but Vygotsky was interested in the socio-cultural context of cognitive development. Vygotsky rejected Piaget's idea that learning must wait for development to take place. He believed that children were capable of learning within the zone of proximal development. Vygotsky believed that people's development is affected by the social environment or culture they live in. Culture is responsible for teaching not only what to think, but how to think. Pupils come to understand through collaborative social engagement. Knowledge is not merely hand-on-hand, nor is discovered by the pupil, but rather it is part of a process of co-construction. This co-construction takes place through problem-solving activity that enables pupils progressively to access the world of knowledge that is initially beyond them, but which they are a part. Jarvis 2005 mentioned that learning takes place when internalization occurs. This is the process whereby the social becomes the psychological, from the interpsychological plane between you and others to intrapsychological plane inside yourself. Now I'm going to move on to the strengths and challenges. A strength about constructivism is that it promotes social and communication skills because it involves the teacher helping the children rather than the teacher speaking to the class and not engaging with them. Another strength is that the students are the ones that determine how they will learn and not just the teacher, meaning that the pupils are actively involved in their learning process. And lastly, constructivism scopes for deep learning through hands-on-hand activity. Mudis and Reynolds 2011 mentioned that 2 of the challenges of constructivism is that it is difficult to align with standardized testing and that it is challenging to implement. Krishna et al. 2006 mentioned that it's inefficient because it does not teach knowledge for storage in long-term memory.
Constructivism is a theory that says learners construct knowledge rather than just passively taking information. As people experience the world and reflect upon those experiences, they build their own representations and incorporate new information into their pre-existing knowledge, meaning experiences can help build knowledge rather than just learning from the book. These experiences can build onto their learning and add new details into the pre-existing knowledge. Constructivism promotes social and communication skills by creating a classroom environment that emphasizes collaboration and exchange of ideas. Students must learn how to articulate their ideas clearly, as well as to collaborate on tasks effectively by sharing in group projects. Constructivism is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by the experiences of the learner.
Now be evaluating the effectiveness of the constructivist approach. Real learning can only take place when the pupil is actively engaged in operating on or processing learning experiences. The constructivist model of teaching allows pupils to be actively included in the learning process. The hands-on experiences that people engage in during learning encourages development. Constructivist methods of teaching can be hard to align with standardized testing and hard to implement due to the nature of its practices. This model of teaching can also be viewed as inefficient because it doesn't teach the knowledge for storage in long-term memory. Behaviorism is an approach closely linked to objectivism. Bates, 2016, mentioned that it was intentionally developed in the 1920s by psychologists. This consists of certain stimulus that will evoke a particular response, cause and effect. This model began with Pavlov and later with Skinner. Skinner subjects animals and humans to a series of rigorous experiments. He explored the reactions to rewards and punishments. Jordan et al., 2008, mentioned that Skinner's general principle is if the response is followed by a reinforcing stimulus, the rate of responding will increase. He believed that the pupils can be trained to replicate certain behaviours if they associate such behaviour with the receipt of tangible rewards. He also believed that pupils learn best by rewarding for right responses. He also believed that pupils learn best by being rewarded for the right responses. There is a positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Some examples of positive reinforcement is that there is a positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. An example of a positive reinforcement would be behaviour charts, verbal praises, smiley faces, house points, prizes in class dojo. An example of a negative reinforcement that can be implemented in practice are lines, missed break, standing in the corner, or being sent to the head teacher for detention. Behaviorism has many strengths and challenges. The strengths of behaviorism is that it uses rigorous experimental methods of research and enhances the credibility of science as a specific discipline. It provides strong arguments to the nature side or nature-nurture debate. It provides strong arguments for the nature side of the nature-nurture debate. Another strength is that the approach has provided a number of practical application techniques to shape behaviour, for example, the use of rewards in education. The last strength is that it has provided successful teaching in this way to teach facts, formula, scientific concepts, and foreign language. The challenges of behaviorism is that it ignores the mental process that involved in learning, unlike cognitive approach, who views the process as important. According to the behaviourist approach, people can only learn as a result of their experiences. Another challenge is the use of animals in applying the law of learning to human behaviour. This has been criticised as humans are more complex than animals. Another challenge is that the principle of operant and classical conditioning does not count for spontaneous behaviour in humans. It rejects the possible role of biological factors in human behaviour, unlike the biological approach which considers nature an imprint factor. And the last challenge of behaviorism is that behaviourists view humans as passive learners, like humanistic psychologists who view humans as active agents, able to determine their own development.
Objectivism is often referred to as the traditional approach, with the teacher standing at the front transmitting the knowledge to the children. It sees knowledge as something that exists outside of the pupils. The teacher is regarded as the expert, and the children take the information in like a sponge and absorb it. A teacher operating from a primarily objective view is more likely to believe that a course must present a body of knowledge to be learnt. This consists of facts, formulas, principles, and theories. Carroll 2014 states that an objectivist teacher has to be very much in control of what and how students learn, choosing what is important to learn and the sequence of the learning activities and how learners are to be assessed. The implications of objectivism is that the objective perspective points out the importance of the learning objective, success criteria, and providing information to the pupils on their progress in achieving the learning objectives. It also has constant repetition of material broken down into smaller, progressive pieces of information. The strengths of objectivism that Good and Brophy said in 1986 is that it's appropriate for teaching children the basic skills. Mugis and Reynolds 2000 said that it is effective for pupils needing more direct instruction, and it's also easy to monitor the class, spot signs of them not understanding and making sure that they stay on task. The challenges of objectivism is that there is a limited scope for open-end activities. It's very teacher-centred and effectiveness in different subjects is under-researched, which is said by Campbell et al. 2004. So now we're going to be comparing constructivism and objectivism. Constructivist teaching is when learning is constructed knowledge, and objectivist teaching is when learning is transmitted knowledge. In constructivism, teaching is about providing activities to the students to generate their own understanding, and objectivism, teaching is about instructing the students in what they should know. Objectivist teaching follows a directed approach with the teacher stood at the front of the class transmitting the knowledge to students with the expectation that the students will absorb all of that information. And constructivism is a more free approach with the children allowed to generate their own knowledge and understanding. Examples of constructivist teaching are pair and group work, so they can work together and teach each other whilst collaborating. Problem-based learning, allowing the children to solve problems on their own, and also cooperative learning. Whereas objectivism, the child is sat in front of the teacher and they take in the information that's given by the teacher. It's a typical sequence style of learning, and children follow a set of instructions as directed. Carroll 2014 says that real learning can only occur when the pupil is actively engaged in operating on or processing learning experiences facilitated by the teacher. And Carroll 2014 says in objectivism that the role of the teacher is to transmit this information to the pupil in manageable chunks through teacher task worksheets and textbooks. So the difference is that objectivism essentially is just the teacher telling the children all of the knowledge, whereas constructivism is allowing children to have a more free approach and they can go and construct their own learning and knowledge. They can also work together to get answers. So we prefer the constructivist approach because it allows children to explore different ways of learning.
The teacher has a crucial role to play in designing appropriate activities, including discussion, and as well as providing support for effective learning. To conclude, in order to provide the most effective lessons for pupils, the teacher would view learning from a behaviourist constructivist or social constructivist viewpoint. It is not your choice of theory that makes the difference. It is the strategies for teaching and teaching actions that make your theory that you hold on learning.
Curriculum, and we will be explaining the design of our new curriculum for Wales. This is our poster of our curriculum that we have created. It includes the 6 areas of learning and also includes our 4 purposes and the 3 cross-curricular areas. For our 6 areas of learning, we've decided to base it off the Wales curriculum, and we have included maths and numeracy, science and technology, languages, literacy and communication, health and wellbeing, expressive arts and humanities. The 3 cross-curricular areas are literacy, numeracy and digital competence. These are our 4 purposes. The first one is to equip children with the life skills to do well in education and later life, to inform children on how to keep a good, healthy, balanced lifestyle mentally as well as physically, creative and innovative students, to show children the different paths in life rather than higher education, and to ensure that all children have equal opportunities within education and a good understanding on how we are all different but equal.
I will now be discussing the principles of our new curriculum for Wales. We admired the principles and curriculum in Scotland and Wales, specifically the ideas of encouraging originality and providing the pupils with the choice and ability to personalise their own curriculums. So we decided, therefore, to push them together. I will now be discussing the principles for our new curriculum. We really admired the principles of Scotland and Wales' curriculum, specifically the ideas of encouraging originality and providing the pupils with the choice and ability to personalise their own curriculum. We decided to combine Scotland and Wales principles into creating our own. Scotland's principles includes challenging enjoyment, breadth, progression, depth, personalisation and choice, coherence and relevance. And Wales encourages ambitious, capable learners, enterprising, creative contributions, ethical and informed citizens, healthy, confident individuals, and pupils that are ready to lead fulfilling lives as valued members of society. In our new curriculum, the principles will be a mixture of both. We will encourage pupils to express their individuality and fulfill their enjoyment and challenge themselves every day. We will raise ambitious, confident pupils who have depth and relevance to social change. We decided to merge principles. We decided to construct our principles by drawing inspiration from Wales and Scotland because we observed that they were similar to our own. We want pupils to be encouraged to explore their individuality and be taught in areas that would allow them to develop their identity and morals. Our principles mean we decided to construct our principles by drawing inspiration from Wales and Scotland because we have observed that they are similar to our own. We want pupils to be encouraged to explore their individuality and to be taught in areas that would allow them to develop their identity and morals. Our principles show that we value core skills such as being capable learners and ambitious students, but we want to modernise standard principles to reflect the rapid rate of social change. Pupils will be aware of global issues and want to challenge social norms to drive for an improved future.
Apart from the obvious school setting, education can happen in numerous different places. For example, education can happen in nurseries, hospitals, colleges, universities, community centres and places of worship. Typically, formal education takes place in a classroom, however learning can take place anywhere, whether it be learning from a teacher, peers, technology or our surroundings. Another setting where education takes place, which has a significant impact on learning, is at home. By being around older people like parents and grandparents who are more advanced, it's beneficial for younger people when trying to learn from their peers. From their speech and their language to helping them with their academic work like maths and English. By children having these interactions, this is also beneficial for their cognitive development. According to Jean Piaget, who is famous for his theory within children's cognitive development, he says, children actively participate in creating their own understandings. This is done through means and observations, physical activities such as games, both indoor and outdoor interactions with other people.
New curriculum for Wales. We will draw inspiration from the current structure of the Welsh curriculum by adapting a progression step method instead of a key stage structure. There will be 5 progression steps from the ages of 3 to 16. We have chosen this structure because we believe it would be more beneficial to the development of pupils, as it would allow us to take groups of children with a smaller age range and create goals for those pupils. This would not be possible if we chose to use a key stage structure, which would only have 3 group stages. A key stage group would place pupils into 3 stages: the early years foundation stage, which would be aged 3 to 5, key stage 1, which would be aged 5 to 7, and key stage 2, which would be 7 to 11. This structure means a larger range within the key stage, which would mean the content and goals for the key stage would not benefit and suit all pupils. For example, You wouldn't set the same targets and criteria for a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. However, they would be placed in the same key stage. Our curriculum will follow a similar approach to the Welsh curriculum in that we will be providing areas of learning and experience rather than a siloed subject approach. Life skills, health and well-being sit at the heart of the curriculum. Sharp 2007 mentioned that these are crucial skills for the future. Stride and Kutcher 2015 argued that the ability to withstand or adapt positively to change is a necessary tool to navigate the world in which we live in. Many constructs exist as a means of understanding the process of positive adaptability, such as emotional intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, and resilience. We have lots of different elements in our new curriculum that fall under the 6 areas of learning and experience. The elements, design and technology, music and drama, fall under expressive arts. Life skills, well-being, and critical thinking and relationships fall under health and well-being. History, geography, business, sports and philosophy, home economics and politics fall under humanities. English, literature and language fall under languages, literacy and communication. We also have maths, which falls under mathematics and numeracy. And lastly, we have science, ICT and nutrition, which fall under science and technology. The 2 new subjects we have decided to add to our new curriculum, which we feel are important to learn about, our life skills and relationships. Life skills is an important subject to teach children because it helps them to develop self-confidence and successfully deal with significant life changes and challenges, such as bullying and discrimination. It gives them a voice at school, in their community and in society at large. As health and well-being sits at the heart of our curriculum, we believe that teaching the kids about healthy relationships can have a positive impact on their well-being. This area can help learners understand and value how feelings of belonging and connection that come from healthy relationships have a powerful effect on health and well-being. Learners need to recognize when relationships are unhealthy and need to be aware of how to keep safe and seek support for themselves and others. Learners will be encouraged to understand that throughout their lives they will experience a range of relationships. They will also be encouraged to develop their ability to form, nurture and maintain relationships. As a result, they will see how healthy relationships are vital for a healthy body and mind, allowing us to thrive. Each of the 6 areas of learning and experience have been designed to support learners to realize the 4 purposes of the curriculum. In expressive arts, it's intended that pupils will develop their creative appreciation, talent and the artistic and performance skills. The health and well-being area aims to help children and young people to build their knowledge, understanding and skill to develop positive relationships, deal with difficult issues and decisions, and learn to live independently. The humanities area will seek to give pupils an understanding of historical, geographical, political, economical and societal factors, providing opportunities to engage in informed decisions. The language, literacy and communication area aims to provide the fundamental building blocks for different forms of communication, literature and learning about languages. Through the mathematics and numeracy area, pupils will be expected to develop a good lasting understanding of mathematical concepts and have the confidence to apply numerical skills in everyday life. Lastly, science and technology are described as acquiring knowledge through observation and experimentation, and subsequently applying the scientific knowledge in practical ways.
Decided to follow again another similar structure as Wales. So in our curriculum, the teachers and students will both be involved in choosing topics and what they learn. It is topic-based and includes the 6 areas of learning and focuses on numeracy and literacy skills. Our curriculum will include life skills, relationships, health and well-being, and these will be made to be mandatory subjects in the curriculum. The way that we will teach our curriculum is typically in a classroom, but we will have no summative end-of-year assessment, so there'll be different assessments throughout the year carried out in different ways rather than summing everything up at an end-of-year test. The children and the teacher will be working together to help progress learning, with teacher giving the children progressive feedback so the learner can understand their strengths and improve on the strengths and weaknesses. The teachers will use a range of different assessment techniques, including practical assessments, observations, and learning journeys will be used to show progression and learning each year. We decided to compare our curriculum to the Welsh curriculum. Both of our curriculums are pretty similar, and we based a lot of our curriculum off the Welsh curriculum. So both of the curriculums use the 6 areas of learning to create categories for each subject, which can then be taught as a wider area of learning. We found that it was easier to narrow each subject down into these learning areas, so it's easier for the teachers to choose what topics they want to learn. We have similar purposes for both curriculums, however our curriculum introduces life skills to equip children for later life, which we think is a really important subject. So in the life skills they will be learning things like mortgages, tax and relationships. Our curriculum also focuses on the health and well-being, ensuring children understand the importance of emotions and creating a healthy, balanced lifestyle, both physically and emotionally. The Welsh curriculum includes focus on the Welsh language and culture, whereas our curriculum we would teach languages and cultures as one rather than focusing specifically on one country. So for ours we decided that we could maybe pick one country to learn about each term, and then you could learn about that culture and learn the languages rather than just focusing on the language where you came from. Both curriculums include assessment as part of everyday learning. The teachers work with the individuals and discuss what they are doing well and help them progress in a positive way. And relationships and well-being become mandatory parts of the curriculum, as it is important that children learn about emotions and relationships as part of growing up.